There is this very specific, um, universal moment of panic that we all experience every single day.
Oh, yeah. The alarm.
Right. That exact second your morning alarm just goes off, you're pulled out of a dream, the room is pitch dark, the noise is incredibly jarring, and your hand just like instinctively reaches out in the dark to hit snooze. Or, worse, grab your phone.
Yeah, because in that precise second, your psychological defenses are entirely offline. You are quite literally waking up to the demands of the world, and your brain hasn't yet booted up its executive functioning.
The part that makes the good decisions.
Exactly, the part of you that makes logical long-term decisions is just not awake yet.
And in that vulnerable state, it is so incredibly easy to just start scrolling. I mean, we flood our brains with emails, the news, videos of total strangers. We basically let the outside world shout at us before we've even had a glass of water.
It's a huge shock to the system.
It really is. But our source material today suggests that this specific groggy window of time isn't just a throwaway moment. It is actually the most valuable cognitive real estate in your entire day. So whether you are commuting right now, making your breakfast, or maybe just fiercely curious about how to actually optimize your brain for learning, welcome to the English Boost podcast.
Today, we are looking at a really transformative framework. We're analyzing a strategy engineered to take your English skills from a comfortable, intermediate B1 level and systematically push them to a more advanced B2 level.
And what I love is that the defining factor here isn't, what textbook you use.
No, not at all. It's the timing. It's the whole psychological approach.
Right. So our mission today is all about building a tiny, highly effective morning routine that elevates your English without adding an ounce of stress to your already chaotic life. Okay, let's unpack this. Because reading through the sources, I realized we need a massive paradigm shift here.
We really do.
When someone says language learning, the immediate mental image is usually heavy, exhausting study sessions. Like stacks of grammar books, 2 hours of memorizing flashcards late at night until your eyes burn.
And that is exactly the model we are dismantling today. This exploration isn't about creating some highly curated, unrealistic morning where you wake up at 4 a.m., drink a raw green smoothie, and study under a spotlight.
Thankfully, because I am not doing that.
Right. Nobody has time for that. The research emphasizes that absorbing a language naturally relies on neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity responds much better to a gentle, consistent daily stretch than it does to a heavy, exhausting, once-a-week weightlifting session.
Wait, but if my morning alarm leaves me feeling entirely vulnerable, like we just established, isn't that a bad time to study? I mean, if my defenses are down and my executive functioning is offline, shouldn't I protect that time instead of forcing my groggy brain to learn a language?
Well, it seems counterintuitive, I know. But that vulnerability is exactly why it works. Think of your morning brain as a completely blank page in a notebook.
Okay, a blank page?
Yeah. When you wake up, your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are going through their natural morning awakening response. But your dopamine baseline hasn't been hijacked yet. The moment you look at social media, you give your brain a massive unearned spike of cheap dopamine.
Oh, man. I read this part in the sources and it really hit me. I am totally guilty of the just 1 minute trap.
Oh, we all are.
I wake up, I think, I'll just check my phone for 1 minute to see if I got any important work messages. And boom, 15 minutes have instantly evaporated.
Poof, gone.
Gone. Our sources used a brilliant analogy for this, actually. Starting your day with immediate social media scrolling is literally like eating junk food for breakfast. You might survive the day, but you won't feel great.
Because of how it impacts your energy levels? Yes. If you eat a massive bowl of sugary candy for breakfast, your insulin spikes and crashes. Your brain chemistry works the exact same way with information.
Oh, wow.
What's fascinating here is the concept of setting the tone. If you start with a stressful, loud input like diving straight into urgent work emails or doom scrolling the news, you spike your cognitive load before you've even gotten out of bed.
Right, you're priming your nervous system for anxiety. The sources compared this to choosing the very first song on a brand new playlist. If the first song you play is aggressive and loud, the entire rest of the playlist feels anxious.
Exactly. Which is why capturing those first few minutes is vital. If you choose a calm, intentional routine, like a few minutes of structured English practice, you bypass that dopamine crash entirely. You engage the brain's language centers while the rest of the world is quiet.
You set a peaceful tone.
Yes. You've established a baseline of focus before external demands could hijack your working memory.
Okay, so the morning is prime mental real estate because our brains are that blank page. But I want to push back on this a bit. My mornings, like a lot of people's, feel like a complete disaster zone just trying to get out the door. Wouldn't a quiet lunch break, or maybe late at night when the house is finally asleep, wouldn't that make way more scientific sense for focused learning?
To answer that, we really have to look at the case study the sources highlighted. It's about a woman named Sarah.
Right, the customer support worker.
Exactly. She works for a global online company, and her job requires constant, high-stakes communication. By the time she finishes her shift and gets home at 6 p.m., she is dealing with severe decision fatigue.
She has absolutely nothing left in the cognitive tank. The text noted her evenings were chaotic with family responsibilities and she just needed to decompress. But she kept making that classic promise to herself like, I'll study my English later tonight.
And later never came.
Never, leaving her with this heavy, heavy guilt.
And that guilt just compounds the exhaustion. The reason late-night studying fails for people like Sarah comes down to cognitive bandwidth. The source material utilizes an incredibly accurate analogy here. Your brain's working memory is essentially a computer's CPU.
I couldn't stop thinking about this analogy. It explains so much.
It really does. Because by 8 p.m., you have your work stress tab open.
Yeah, your dinner prep tab is open.
Right, your unanswered messages tab, your internal CPU is already running at 99% capacity, just managing your daily life.
And then you try to open a massive, memory-heavy English study tab at night.
And the whole system just freezes and crashes. You
Yep.
end up staring blankly at a textbook, retaining absolutely nothing.
It just doesn't work. So Sarah's solution wasn't to magically find more willpower at 8 p.m. She audited her day and realized she had a 15-minute train commute every single morning. She didn't wake up earlier, she kept the exact same train ride, but she just swapped out her mindless scrolling for a podcast.
That pivot is so important. It highlights the power of being intentional,
Yeah.
doing things on purpose rather than on autopilot.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Her success wasn't about her having some natural gift for languages.
Not at all.
It was purely discipline. The sources shared this amazing analogy of carving a rock with drops of water. It's those small steps that add up, building a wall little by little, brick by brick.
Exactly. Sarah stopped relying on evening willpower and started utilizing her morning commute.
Okay, so let's say I audit my life. I find that 15 minutes while the coffee is brewing or on my drive to work, what am I actually doing? Because just studying English is incredibly vague. How do I maximize a tiny 15-minute window?
Well, the sources outline a highly actionable four-part framework. They call it a small breakfast for your English.
I love that, a small breakfast.
Right, not a massive buffet that leaves you bloated and overwhelmed, but 4 specific steps. Listen, speak, write, and review.
Let's break those down, starting with step 1, which is listen. The text calls the morning brain a clean sponge, which ties back to the blank page idea. But what's actually happening when I press play on an English audio source instead of the news?
You are engaging your auditory processing centers before they are fatigued by daily stress. When you wake up, your clean sponge hasn't touched the dirty water of the day yet.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, so if you expose that clean sponge to a calm English audio source, your brain isn't filtering it through your to-do list. It absorbs the rhythm and the flow of the language deeply.
That makes perfect sense. I'm soaking up the audio. But here is a massive disconnect I noticed, and I'm totally guilty of this myself. I can understand an English podcast perfectly, but the second I try to repeat what they said or speak to someone, my brain just completely freezes. Why doesn't listening automatically translate to speaking?
Because they use completely different neural pathways. Listening is a receptive skill, right? Your brain is just decoding signals. But speaking is a productive motor skill. It physically requires your motor cortex to coordinate the muscles of your jaw, your tongue, your lips.
The source provided a striking analogy for this that completely reframed it for me. Reading or listening to English without ever actually speaking it out loud is exactly like watching other people exercise every single day, but never getting off the couch to move your own body.
It's the perfect parallel.
Of course your muscles feel stiff. You haven't moved them.
Exactly. If you don't physically run, your legs have zero muscle memory. You freeze when you try to speak because you haven't warmed up the physical muscles of your mouth.
So that brings us to step 2, the mouth's gym. The action here is remarkably simple. Just use those few morning minutes as a safe, completely judgment-free gym for your mouth.
You don't need a conversation partner.
Right. You just talk out loud. State your plans for the day to your bathroom mirror. Say 3 things you're grateful for. You're just getting your physical anatomy used to forming the sounds without the panic of someone grading you.
It builds that crucial physical muscle memory. And once the mouth is warmed up, the framework moves to step 3, which is write. Now, to be clear, this isn't about writing a perfect essay to impress a grammar teacher.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, the instruction is simply to write down 3 or 4 simple sentences about your current thoughts or tasks. It's a mindful practice.
I have to admit, I questioned this step when I read it. If my morning thoughts are chaotic, why wouldn't I just organize them in my native language? How does forcing this into English actually help?
It's about cleaning the mental desk. In the morning, our thoughts are off of this chaotic swirl of anxieties. What we have to do, who we have to call. By translating a stressful thought into a simple English sentence, you're stripping away the emotional noise.
Because you're focusing on the structure.
Exactly. You focus on subject, verb, object. It leaves learners feeling refreshed and able to breathe. You're just organizing chaotic thoughts, like cleaning scattered papers off a mental desk.
That is fascinating. So I've listened, I've spoken out loud to the mirror, I've written my sentences to clear my desk. But how do I ensure I don't just forget everything by tomorrow? Which leads us to step 4, review.
Yes. The human brain is designed to forget. If you learn a new phrase on Monday but never look at it again, your brain assumes it was useless data and deletes it.
The sources compared this to buying expensive new houseplants every single day, but refusing to water the ones you bought yesterday. The new ones look great, but the old ones just wither and die. You have to water the plants.
You really do. Reviewing doesn't mean a grueling test. It means taking literally 60 seconds to glance at the sentences you wrote yesterday. It's about consistency.
The text used the toothbrush rule, which is so universally true. You don't ignore your dental hygiene all week and then aggressively brush your teeth for 1 solid hour on Sunday.
That would be terrible.
It would be absurd. You brush them for 2 minutes every single day. That daily low-friction rhythm is what maintains the health. Language review operates on the exact same biological principle.
So we have this neurologically sound structure. Listen, speak, write, review. A small breakfast for your English. But we still need to address how this return actually bridges the gap from a B1 level to a B2 level.
Right, because if I'm just writing simple B1 sentences like, I will drink coffee, I'm not really growing, am I? How does the advanced language actually stick?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's all about the gentle stretch strategy.
Yeah.
If you jump straight into complex academic English, you feel lost. Your brain has no context. But if you start by surrounding yourself with slow, safe, understandable B1 English.
You feel secure.
Yes. And within that safe environment, you gently drop in 1 or 2 advanced B2 vocabulary words. Because you comprehend the surrounding context perfectly, your brain can deduce the meaning of the new word without feeling overwhelmed. The light stretch.
It really prioritizes context over translation.
Yeah.
You know, when I read about this gentle stretch, it reminded me of the crossword puzzle analogy from the text.
Oh, right, the crossword puzzle.
Yeah. If you look at a totally blank crossword puzzle, guessing a massive 10-letter word is impossible. But if you've already filled in all the intersecting simple words, which is your solid B1 foundation, you suddenly have all these clue letters. Guessing the missing advanced B2 word becomes a natural, logical leap.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. Learning words in this environment means the brain connects the new phrase to a specific picture, a feeling, or a moment in real life, rather than just memorizing a dry translation.
So what does this all mean? Like, for the listener who is gripping their steering wheel right now thinking, this sounds lovely, but I genuinely have no time. My life is entirely full.
It's the most common resistance. But the source material offers a profound perspective shift. When we say, I don't have time, what we are almost always actually saying is, my time is already full of small habits I didn't choose on purpose.
Wow. Yeah, that is a tough pill to swallow.
It really is. It's not about creating a 25th hour. It's about swapping an unintentional habit for an intentional one. This morning routine makes you feel productive, refreshed, and energized.
And the sources leave us with a fantastic challenge to put this into action immediately. Don't wait for tomorrow morning. Take one new concept or phrase that you picked up during our discussion today, maybe neuroplasticity or the clean sponge, and be bold enough to make one simple sentence with it right now.
Yes, act on it.
Say it out loud to your dashboard. Treat it as a tiny gym session for your confidence.
That single action transitions the information from passive entertainment into an active skill.
Because at the end of the day, English is not just a school subject. It is a literal key that opens doors to new jobs, to friendships, to global content.
Absolutely.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think back to that jarring sound of your morning alarm we talked about. Tomorrow, when that alarm goes off, remember that this small 15-minute habit is forging a key. If building this morning routine acts as a key to unlock future doors, what is the specific room you are most excited to step into once that door finally opens?
That is an excellent question to carry with you today.
Thanks for joining us on the English Boost podcast. We'll catch you next time.